Hi, this is David Tighe, the Managing Director of Bauer Media here in Northern Ireland, and it's my privilege to welcome our guest this week on Business Bites, Glyn Roberts, who's the Chief Executive of Retail NI. Glyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to see you. Let's get straight into the conversation. There are many organisational and representative groups in Northern Ireland. I think the clue to yours might be in the title, but just in case I've got it wrong, give us a little bit of background on Retail NI. What's it all about and who does it represent?
Well, Retail NI represents over 2,000 independent retailers, wholesalers and local suppliers in Northern Ireland. We're very passionate about the future of our high streets and our town centres. And of course, the huge contribution that independent retail makes, not just to those high streets, but to the local community, to our economy as a whole. And, you know, we have been sort of very proactive during this sort of spend local card phase or during this scheme and emphasising that 70p in every pound that you spend with an independent retailer is recycled around the rest of the economy, directly supporting local producers, manufacturers and so on. So we're very passionate about the future of high streets and the contribution that our members can make.
It's good to see that a bit of life coming back into many of our high streets now. How have your members reacted to the extension of the spend local card scheme?
I think they've accepted that, you know, there were obviously a certain amount of challenges around the registration of that, and it was important to give consumers more time to spend their card. So I think so far so good. The scheme has been going well in terms of the spend with independent retailers, and of course, it's absolutely vital that if we want to get more bang for our buck in terms of the added value of this card, then we're strongly encourage people to spend it with local small businesses, independent retailers, local hospitality businesses, because those are the very same businesses that have went through such a tough time over the last 19 months. You know, we've seen particularly, if you like, that non-essential retail sector, and I hate using that term, but you know, many of those guys this time last year were closed. They couldn't even do click and collect. So they're hoping that this card will give them a bit of a short-term boost. I think it is important to point out that this card is, while it is very welcome, it's not a silver bullet for the challenges facing our high street. And that's why it's absolutely vital that we get a coordinated plan to address the challenges around business rates, regeneration, planning, all of those sort of core issues that are so important to the future of our high streets. But I believe in terms of a short-term shot in the arm, excuse the pun, I think that this has been a very, very welcome. And we've picked up some really good feedback from our members where people are heeding our call to spend it independent, and they are using their card to support those fantastic local businesses. So we're very encouraged about what we've heard so far. And of course, when we do the analysis of the 143, 145 million about where it's spent, I think success looks for us if the majority of that has been spent with those local independent retailers and small businesses.
What is the plan to get those numbers? Because there's a lot of interest in exactly how the spend is going and where it's going. Is there any insight into how things are going so far?
Well, I think we haven't done, if you like, a complete deep dive because it's very hard to gauge who is spending what, when, where. But the feedback from our members is good. I think we're in constant touch with the Department of the Economy. You know, you get daily updates in terms of just how much has been spent. So I think, and so they're very encouraged about what they've heard so far. So, you know, it is important that we get the registration right in this because, you know, every voucher spent in Northern Ireland, particularly with an independent retailer, is a boost to our economy. It's a boost to those particular small businesses. So we want to see as many people out there spending as possible. So I'm very encouraged with it. I mean, my counterparts in England and the Republic of Ireland are so jealous about what we've got with this scheme. So it is a welcome, and it does show the difference devolution can make.
So just as we get that going, we start to hear about a change in plastic bags and the amount that people will be paying for plastic bags in the future. Obviously, there's an environmental reason behind that. But how does that affect your members when they're trying to get back to where they were in terms of their business? Is it going to have an effect?
Well, we're very clear that we share the objectives of the minister, that we need to reduce the amount of plastic that's in circulation, that ends up in our hedges, on our streets, and obviously ultimately in landfill. So we're absolutely signed up to that objective. We do absolutely understand there is a climate emergency, and everyone has their part to play with that. That being said, we are concerned at such a steep hike of over 500% increase from 5p to 25p. It wasn't what we were expecting. We suggest a more modest increase, but we're worried that this will hit the ordinary working families who've been through enough. That they are already facing very tough times with national insurance increases in energy bills, inflation, increases in food. And I think it's the last thing we need for those working families. And let's not forget that many have lost the £20 universal credit uplift as well. So I think we have concerns about that. And the other concern that we have, many of our members reported to us with the existing carrier bag levy that many people who have, say they go into a grocery store, they have a basket, and they realize when they come to the checkout that they need to buy a carrier bag, that they put some of those items back and just carry them out. So that means that trade is lost to that particular independent retailer. So we're hoping to meet with the minister. We think a more realistic increase is what's needed. And I think more importantly, we're quite concerned is the way that the Department have handled this. They went through the motions of a consultation, but with our members playing such a critical role in administering this levy, they administer it every day. It's important that they also have a say about how the proceeds of that levy is spent. And that is the case in Wales, where the retailers that administer their carrier bag levy have a say in what local environmental projects it's spent on.
So we've got that to contend with. What about the run up to Christmas? Obviously, with the Spend Local campaign, that will give a boost, but presumably it's just filling the gaps of the earlier part of the year. What's the view on Christmas? And I suppose, as importantly, the longer term outlook from your members into 2022.
I think it's safe to say this Christmas will be better than last year, and obviously the big game changer, which we didn't have this time last year, was the rollout of the vaccine. Obviously, we have our colleagues in hospitality more or less fully open, so our high streets are open, and obviously we still have that very strong message of face covers, hand sanitizing, and obviously people to be respect distance. I think in terms of 2022, we have huge amount of challenges facing us. Not least climate change, but also increases in national insurance, the carrier bag levy increases, where businesses will start to pay rates again from 2020 or April 2022. So there's almost a perfect storm of challenges that's there. One of the top things that we want to see is what the Chancellor announced in his budget for England, where they are putting forward a rates discount scheme for small businesses in England. We want that to apply in Northern Ireland. If it's good enough for small businesses and independent retailers in Leicester, it's good enough for small businesses and independent retailers in Lisburn and so on. So we're at the top of our ask list to the Finance Minister is that with all of those cost pressures, the one thing Stormont can do is implement that rates discount scheme, that small business rate discount scheme locally to support those businesses, because we're not out of it yet.
If nothing else, I'm sure your members have shown resilience over the last period, and pretty convinced that those, especially the independent sector, always are resilient in these situations. Do you think they'll stand up to the next 12 months with their resilience and the fight that they've got?
Absolutely. They're up for it. It's one thing that we've seen throughout the pandemic, just how invaluable those local community independent retailers are. A big shout out to the amazing contribution many retail staff play, particularly in lockdown one. I think if there's one lesson from this pandemic, or one thing that's arisen from this pandemic, at the vital importance of having local independent retailers, whether they're grocery, whether they're local butchers, whether they're local pharmacy, they all have such an important community service role.
Glyn, we couldn't agree more, and thanks for being our guest this week on Business Bites.